We're going to go through the 5 most popular accumulation funds that the rich use to get wealthy. This isn't due to trading, it's just due to the simple act of accumulation through time. And yeah, these funds don't pay you an income as such, but they do compound quietly in the background, which is why they are very popular. We're going to go through what the funds are. We'll also go through why they're so popular and also cheap, and the exact funds that have billions of dollars. Let's just follow the money. Now, the first thing we need to talk about is the difference between distributing and accumulation. That's the thing. And that's what normally I get in the comment section of why do I go for a certain one. I personally don't use the accumulation funds. I like to get cash flow because mine are mainly focused on dividends. I use Bitcoin for my growth. And normally, if you are thinking of growth, you will use accumulation funds to start off with because dividends are automatically reinvested into the fund. That's an important factor here. So it slowly, automatically compounds, and you can see here, units must be sold within the withdrawal process. It works very, very well. No cash is paid out, it's simplistic, and it obviously happens all internally. And you don't have to think about reinvesting. And I think psychologically, in my viewpoint, that's where people trip up. Having to do stuff. Now for me, I'm full-time, I'm an investor, I've been an investor for over a decade now. I understand the metric and the game and the process. I've got the habit built up. If you're new, though, you might forget. You may miss a notification and you might be, oh, bollocks, I missed it. So that takes away a massive factor. And not to mention as well, some, not all, accumulation funds are managed. The fees are a little bit higher there, but people will be actively managing those funds for you. So there's a different scope here. But as I say, right, when we talk about all these different types, it does the boring, heavy lifting for you, realistically. And when we talk about cash flow, that is important, but accumulation funds is the growth engine. So if you are younger, you're more likely to go for these funds. If you're older, more likely to go with the income funds, which is more cash flow side of it. But we need to talk about why are they so popular. As you can see on the screen here, this is a load of them on just trading 2-on-2. I'm going to go through the full metric in a minute. But you can see there's a lot more accumulation than there is distribution. Because, as I say, it's hands-off investing. There's no reinvestment decisions to be made here. No temptation to spend the income, so to speak. And that's the big thing. And this is perfect for a pension and obviously your stocks and shares ISA. But the key thing is, and I've already alluded to it, they remove human behavior. They remove the element of you doing something silly. Oh, I got paid 200 quid. Yes! Let's go and spend it on something stupid that I don't need. Investing is a time thing, but it's also consistency. And I think consistency and time, they go well together. It builds a habit. But when we talk about the rich and why the wealthy investors prioritize certain things such as time in the market, low cost, and broad diversification, it's important to note that there's a couple of types of things here that we need to talk about because there's obviously index funds. There's actively managed funds where people will be managing them for you, which does have a higher rate, but ultimately it's very passive, which is important. And as well, multi-asset funds as well, pooling money into diversification. There's so much elements of like, oh, wow, my brain's on fire here. But they all share one characteristic. They don't chase stupid yields. They don't overtrade. They allow the process to happen and they don't tinker every single week, which is why the most important thing is when we talk about all these kind of things and even private markets and even the money markets and all this kind of stuff, right? It all leads back to the one simple process of index funds, essentially, where you got the ETFs and stuff like that. Because you don't get rich by being stupidly clever, you get rich by being consistent. And that's the thing. And we could talk about that with any niche. I've been there, I've proven it, I've showcased it over the course of a decade. If I didn't start and if I didn't do what I was doing for that early years, I wouldn't have money to be able to build and then continue to build. Because the thing is, and we all say this little thing, don't we? The rich get richer. And we say it due to thinking that, well, maybe they're offered some favors, but actually it's simple. Money makes money, right? So if you've got more money in a fund and that is paying you more and it's getting reinvested at a higher rate every single time you're getting paid, every single quarter that dividend rolls round, guess what? You've got broad market exposure, you've got time in the market, and that money is doing a job for you. Now, the final thing I do want to talk about here is cost, because I get this question an awful lot in my comment section. Feel free to comment if you want, but a lot of people do say, well, what about the cost? Because my portfolio is different. I'm a dividend investor. That equals higher fees anyways, and they're all distribution. So there's a mixture. Traditionally, you'll see this very, very soon. So stick around. What funds I want to talk about, they have a lot lower fees. There's a bit of a fee war going on as well. There's a lot of platforms trying to hack off their fees to get more investors. We're in a bull market right now. We're in a very, very big purple patch. So fees can compound against you, but only if they're stupid. All of these ones won't, which is good, because people tend to go down the rabbit hole of growth and they want, let's chase a highlight of, let's say, biotech or EVs or whatever, I don't know, whatever niche on an index fund. They've got higher fees because they're very, very emerging. So yeah, tax efficient, tick a box. Stocks and shares ISA, please, obviously. Keep it simple with the fees. And I know low costing isn't exciting, but it's the one thing that you can control here. Don't go crazy. You will find that. Obviously, I'm putting Vanguard on the screen here. This doesn't really apply anymore, but Vanguard was created and it was the king of low-cost funds. They've kind of ruined that now, I'll be honest. But yeah, it's on the screen. Low fees. And it does make sense. So the first one that we need to talk about is CSP1. 0.07% fees, which is quite low. It is the S&P 500, if you've not yet noticed, and it is one of the most popular funds out there with a hell of a lot of monies in it. That's the reality here. So what we've got here on Just ETF, we are going through, in terms of the UK market, what is the most popular, and this is it. So it's growth-led, it's tech-heavy, historic returns of the S&P 500, you know the history of it, and it suits long-term investors, growth-focused essentially, right? It's quite obvious. The reality is here, this has been on an unbelievable run to the upside for a very, very long time. And as you can imagine, it's doing pretty well. It's not hard to kind of get that in terms of the obvious. The thing is, though, the S&P 500 is good, but it could be better. It hasn't had the best year compared to, say, the FTSE 100 and stuff. But in terms of consistency, it wins by a clear mile. That's a thing. Consistency is king here. So it's an obvious one. It should be on most people's radar, but it sometimes isn't. But it depends. But that fund from BlackRock, by the way, is a good one. Now, second on the list is the MSCI World Fund. It's accumulation fund. Now, it is from BlackRock. It does have a higher fee. It is an accumulation fund, but it's got a lot bigger spread, realistically. It's developed world exposure, which is important here. It's very popular, as you can see, and it is across multiple regions. This is where I often say most portfolios do start because it's got the biggest brushstroke, so to speak. It goes further. So when we talk about diversification, yeah, there's a lot of America in here, but there's a bit of everything else as well. Not crazy amounts, but it's enough to kind of give you a bigger brushstroke. There is another fund I will talk about, which I have held myself, which is also just as popular. This one has done very well, as you can see, pretty much competing with most growth stuff. The volatility will be a bit less on this because it has a lot more holdings. It has 1,300 instead of, say, the S&P of 500. Some of my ones have 50, for example, right, which is focused on dividends, but dividends are a different makeup. So it is a pretty good kind of stab in the dark if you're a complete beginner, as I say. But there's a lot of things out there that I can talk about in terms of research tools and information. But that's the thing. Everyone's different. But realistically, this video here is not financial advice, but it should hopefully point you in a direction of like you being able to pick at least two funds if you're a beginner. Now let's go a little bit deeper. Emerging markets. Okay, so this is an accumulation fund similar to what I've just talked about through BlackRock. It has nearly 3,000 holdings. It's higher risk, higher volatility here. You'll see that in a minute. There's long-term growth potential, obviously, but they're usually paired with some obscure things, and you'll see that in a minute. And yes, you may find some of this might be a little bit dicey at points in the market. It might be really good at some points. It might be really, oh my God, at some points. So just be careful. Now, what I'm going to showcase here is not all the markets are great for emerging markets. You should have a much lower spread in these ones, right? Because what you're going to see is a lot of randomness. You can see a lot of Asia here, technology, craziness, right? If you know anything about, geopolitical landscape at the minute, it's a bit mad, right? So when we talk about performance, yeah, this year, 22%, but over the previous years, not great. There's a lot more scope for like a lost decade in this sort of industry, in my opinion. And you can see that. You can see that on the returns. If I go to the chart up above here, you can see there's been periods of time where it doesn't really do much over the course of time. And then it does a lot eventually, right? So bear that in mind. But realistically, it could be a really good one to have as an accumulation fund, which is probably why it's one of the most popular ones too. Now, this is a fund that I've had myself. It's the VWRP. It's brilliant. This is probably the most obvious pick. If you're thinking, stab in the dark, I want everything, developed markets, emerging markets, the full lot, all one fund, extremely popular for simplicity, as I say. And it really is a one button press all sort of vibe because it's over 3,000 plus stocks in it, which makes sense, right? So you've got a bit of everything, as I say, a lot of America in there as well. But ultimately, as you can see, its performance is really good considering what it is. Yes, 2022, not the best, but most markets were like that. For me, though, I had this one. Didn't like it too much because it kind of skewed my data, but that was my personal thoughts on it in terms of me using Snowball Analytics, which I will go into in a minute. But the reality is here. This is, for me, if you want to kind of grow a portfolio and have the bulk of your money in something, you're probably looking at this for safety if you're a beginner. As you get more into the market and you're thinking, you know what, I can maybe beat the market a little bit or try my hand a little bit, you may go into more other funds, obviously emerging markets. But as a brushstroke, as I say, that is probably the most obvious. Now, I know someone's going to go in the comments, but the fees are quite high. Yeah, not the best. But it is emerging markets in there as well. There is other all-world funds as labelled, which is mainly America, and there's a bit of a fee war with different platforms. That's the thing. There's a lot of newer funds out there that are doing well, but they are offering a lot less to try and get more people. For me, I'd rather go with Vanguard than a fund that was created, say, or an entity, or a company that offer these that have only been around for 5 years. My personal thoughts on that, though. And the final one, and you know you've probably been waiting for it, the Nasdaq. Why the Nasdaq? It's just technology. Technology in America, this is more the high risk sort of stuff. There is further high risk stuff I could talk about, but I'm not going to in this video. But this is basically just technology in the American world here, pretty much. As you can see, yeah, it's just literally, as you can imagine, it's the Magnificent Seven and everything else. It's done really well over the last, but you can see here, it does have some air of volatility at certain points. So it's quite volatile, but it's a solid thing. If you are thinking long-term, again, target exposure of technology, yeah, obvious. It is the Nasdaq. It makes obvious sense. It's probably, yeah, it's up there. This one, in this, as you can see, yeah, it's clear cut, obvious. But let's talk about diversification, how to kind of put it towards yours. Now, this is my portfolio. You can see on the screen, I have 3 funds. It is almost 70% of my allocation, right? Obviously, I do have individual stocks here, but the reality is here, not everyone likes to have individual stocks. For me, I do. The thing is, right, you've got to look at each different one, right? So you've got to have stocks. Some people might have cash, bonds, whatever. You've obviously got different types of currencies to look at, regions as well. Diversification is important here, but also how many sectors and what funds you've got in, right? When you talk about funds, for obvious reasons, you can see on mine, I have the All-World Dividend Fund, I have the UK Dividend Fund, and I have the Developed Market Dividend Fund. That is the bulk of my portfolio. Now, for me, I've already alluded to it. You want to have your core holdings in probably one of the all-world funds. You could have obviously your optional emerging markets and maybe the technology as your optional elements, which should be lower. Keep it simple. Avoid over-engineering it because you can do a little bit of research on here if you so wish to. Now, if I went on here and put in, say, the VWRP, which I can very, very simply, it's all here. In terms of market research, it gives you an idea. And you can see here, I have had this before in the past, and I did all right with it realistically, but I have sold out of it, as you can see. Now, just to be perfectly transparent, I talked about why I wanted not an accumulation fund, I wanted dividend stocks. But over the course of that time, I made nearly 6% on it, which isn't too bad considering. But yeah, you can get some research, some information. You can find out all the holdings of it, some news around it. It doesn't pay dividends because it's an accumulation fund. But yeah, just a bit more market research. You can simulate these portfolios, by the way. If you go to add new portfolio, you can put all the funds in and you can see their performance and what it could look like for your portfolio if it makes it easy. Because the biggest mistake realistically isn't picking the wrong fund, it's changing the strategy. So get the strategy nailed first and then you'll be all right. But if you're interested in Snowball Analytics, it's a tool I use nearly every day to check my own portfolio. There's a link below. Not a paid promotion here. It's just what I use. But I know this is not exciting. I get it. But time and being quiet when you do this will do the heavy lifting for you, so to speak. It definitely will. It has for me. Kind of like when I look at my own portfolio, I think, wow, imagine if I didn't start. Because realistically, time and consistency will win. I mean, I think there's too many people trying to get high yield. There's too many people trying to get big returns on growth. But they will, at some point, lose. This market is in a bullish phase. It's going crazy, right? Don't get caught out. But let me know in the comments below, do you prefer the accumulation funds or the distributing funds? It'd be good to know. And yeah, let me know. If you want me to do a video on the distribution side, I will. And if you like dividends, these are the top ETFs for dividend stocks that do pay you an income.